Okay, well, for what it's worth, I'm recording, so whenever you're ready, just go
Excellent.
ahead. Question one.
Brilliant. Well, question one, of course. Judging from the huge piles of goodies behind you, you're an avid collector.
Yes.
So, basically, when did you start collecting posters?
I'm not really sure when it started. I started watching Hong Kong films in 1994. And it took me a while to get going because I was 14 years old, I had a paper round, didn't have much money.
Yeah.
So I started
Yeah.
out buying a few films here and there. And really the posters were like, I was trying to buy films from local rental video shops because there wasn't really much around at that time. There was more than I knew, I just didn't know about it yet. But I was going in the rental shops, cycling about, and from time to time they'd have posters that they just had around the shop. And I guess I just thought, oh, that's pretty. And I got quite friendly with a few of the people who ran the places because I was there every week looking to see what they had for sale. And I guess I just asked one day, can I get this poster? And they sold it to me or gave it to me. I can't even remember what I got at the start. It's a long time ago, my memory is bad.
Interesting. So,
but
no comment.
It was just an extension from the love of the films. And it started out with things like, in the late 90s, we had like Lethal Weapon 4 and The Matrix and that kind of stuff came around. And there was a Blockbuster video that had a really massive 5-foot poster from The Matrix that I managed to get out of them. And I got one for Kill Bill and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So it's really in the late 90s from the rental shops that I started getting stuff. And then I tried to get stuff from the cinemas. It's very hard for me to go to the cinema. Where I lived in Bristol, we had 2 cinemas, well, 3 cinemas, but they were all very far from where I lived. And one of them you had to go along a motorway to get to, and I don't have a car. And it was very difficult trying to get there, but I did manage to find my way there from time to time to see a film that was on there that wasn't on in the other places. And again, I just asked for stuff, and sometimes they put my name on it, and they called when the film was over and said, you can come and get it, it'll cost you £5. Alright, I'll go and get it. And then I started trying to cut out the middleman, and I called the companies directly. I can't remember the name of the company now. I think it was Entertainment Video. They did The Corruptor, and they did Jackie Chan's First Strike, so I called them and said, do you have any old press materials? Now the film's over, you got anything left over just taking up space in the office? Maybe I can buy it from you. So I started getting stuff that way. But there was, in Bristol where I lived, there was really nothing in the way of old kung fu stuff around.
No.
And then in 1998 I got the internet, which was rather eye-opening. And at that time it was mainly people showing pictures of stuff they had. It wasn't really a lot in the way of stuff for sale. But then internet auctions came along, and I started buying that way. But that was quite expensive at that time for a lot of the stuff. And I got hit with customs fees many times. So I kind of stopped buying unless things were really quite cheap and the customs fees wouldn't be that horrific. And then I started getting the stuff from Thailand, which was a real eye-opener. And it just grew and grew over time.
Fab. So, it's interesting what you're saying going back to the rental shops. So, would you say that your first kind of love of posters was through the kind of rental posters for films rather than theatrical release posters?
Well, I wouldn't have said that I really loved the posters at the time. It's just they were there and they were cheap, and it was just I was open to collecting anything that I could get my hands on that was something to do with these films that I love. It's like you love Jet Li. You've seen some of his films. I've seen Fist of Legend. I've seen Black Mask. I've seen Dr. Y. I went to the Eastern Heroes Jet Li Day in London in 1996, and I was like, Jet is awesome! Where can I get his stuff? Not very easy. So when you see the Lethal Weapon poster and his face on it, it's like, wow, there he is. So you want to get that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see, but on top of the wardrobe in pieces, I have the cinema thing. They did like life-size cutouts of Jet, Mel, Danny, and the woman. I forget her name now. And it was like a big cube, and you could stand in the middle with them and take your photo. And it was taken apart to get it home, and it was never put back together again. And then when everything was shipped to Thailand, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Where's there space to put it? But I got some really mad stuff. There was a cinema in Thailand that closed down a few years ago. They were knocking it down to turn it into condos. And behind the Lethal Weapon stuff, I got a load of rolled up large posters from there.
Wow.
And on the floor down there somewhere, I have my biggest poster, which is from a Thai film called The Dog. And it's about 20 meters high, I guess.
Wow. Like
and
a billboard.
it's just been rolled up, taking up space on the floor for years. I don't really know what to do with it. It's just too big. A lot of it is too big, but I just keep it anyway. And
well, it's a fabulous and unique collection by the look of it. So you say Thai posters. Would you say that they are your favourite type of Kung Fu cinema poster?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They have artwork which is unique to Thailand, but I do like the old Kung Fu stuff from Hong Kong and Taiwan, and the Korean stuff as well. I really wish I had more of the Korean posters. I've only got a couple. When they come up for sale, they're usually very expensive, and I can't really justify the cost. And I could buy these two posters, or I could pay my month's rent.
Yeah.
So I choose the rent.
Yeah, I think you should revise that more often. But anyway,
it's a difficult choice sometimes.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, Korean posters from experience, it comes across as a very kind of you need to be in the country to access it type market, whereas Thai posters seem to be a lot more widespread, a lot more easily available. You know, you can buy Thai posters from Thailand itself, obviously.
Well,
Britain, America.
Have you ever tried to buy direct from China, Taiwan, or Japan?
Not particularly. I've used the Japan auction sites.
But then you have to pay the middleman to post it to you, right?
Which is frustrating, and it piles the cost on exactly.
There are websites where I see things, and they're like, you must have a national ID card to sign up to this website. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And there are many sites where I would like to get things from, but I can't because of that, or because I don't have the right way to pay for it, or whatever. And language barriers are less of a problem than they used to be, thanks to Google Translate, but there's still that problem when people don't understand the translations.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It can be very difficult. So the Korean stuff is a lot less accessible.
Yes.
For reasons like that. People in Thailand have been easier to deal with, and many of them have used auction sites which are more accessible abroad, whereas the Koreans seem quite happy to keep it to themselves.
Yeah,
maybe.
There seems to be, I mean, you've told me before, just in conversations we've had, that the Thai stuff's getting rarer, the real quality stuff.
Yes.
And there also seems to be like a proliferation at the moment on various Facebook sites aligned with Thailand, whereby people in Thailand are producing copies of posters to sell.
Yes, there are people doing that, and they often take them from other pages that put a watermark on them, and they don't even remove the watermark before reproducing it, which makes me laugh. It's really stupid. I could do the same. I have high quality, large scans, but I don't do it. I do occasionally make my own from time to time. When there's going to be some famous actor at some event, I will make a print from the Photoshop and I'll get it signed. In this case, I have Chalong Pagdiwijit, Philip Chalong, who was the director, and I have Krung Shi Willai, who was the lead actor. This is the film H-Bomb, you may have heard of, with Chris Mitchum in it and Olivia Hussey. It came out in Thailand under the original title Tadliam Pet, or English name Great Friday. So I will make things when there is a reason to do so, for someone to sign, but I've never made and sold because that's stupid. I don't do that.
No.
And it annoys me when people do. There are other more professional reproductions, but you can often tell. Often the original will be glossy, whereas the reproduction is matte. But they are on the same paper. And really, I'm not that bothered as long as it looks like the poster is supposed to look. Some people say, oh, but that's a reproduction because it's not glossy, it's matte. No, I don't care. It looks like the poster. It's on poster paper, it looks like the poster, it feels like the poster. So sometimes people might just be saying that, they don't really know. I don't know.
So what you're saying there essentially is that your kind of love of the artwork sometimes overrides the fact that it's not necessarily one of the genuine original articles.
Well, you just can't tell sometimes. With these ones that they do from the Photoshop, you can tell because it's stiff photo paper. And there are people selling these. But when it's on normal poster paper, it might be a repro, it might be an original, I don't know. There are people up north in Thailand who seem to have enormous access to stuff, which you just can't get down here. And suddenly they've got a car boot full of posters that they got from somewhere. And you're like, are those really from 40 years ago, or did some guy reprint them in a factory?
Yeah.
I don't always know.
Yeah.
But
so it's a bit of a minefield over there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, not really. The people selling the Photoshop stuff, you can tell most of the time.
Yeah.
The ones that may be a reproduction because it's matte and not glossy, as long as it's on poster paper, I just get it anyway because I want the image.
Yeah. There's been a couple of sellers over there who tried to shoot me in how to spot an original, and they've referred to the fact that sometimes you can see that the fact that the four colours haven't been aligned quite correctly, that type of thing.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff that's gone on over here. Like sometimes you'll get double-sided posters.
Right.
I have some that have a Hong Kong poster on one side and you turn to the back and there's a Thai poster for a completely different film.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me at least 5 times.
Yes, that doesn't strike me as genuine. One thing I have to say, I'll put about Thai posters are those double spreads. I've got one myself, Battle Creek Brawl, and you've told me before you've got some yourself as well, and they're just...
No, I don't.
I don't know. Oh, you don't have any of those? Okay, sorry.
I've seen a number of them, but they're always crazy expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, the Game of Death one, I always wondered whether or not that was part of a two-part issue.
It definitely is, because you can see Bruce's arm cut off.
It is. I've since seen it myself, but getting hold of it's another matter, because there seems to be one half of it, usually the half with the tight lot, seems to be more easily available.
I've seen the Inno Santo side for sale at least a dozen times. I've never seen the side with Bruce on it for sale. Never.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't know why it's like that.
Okay, moving on. Your favourite posters? 2 or 3, handful.
Which country?
Any, really, any. You could do them by country, you could do them just generally, it's up to you.
Well, are we only talking Hong Kong movies? We should, because it's a magazine about Hong Kong movies. Right. Well, there's many posters for Thai films that I also rather like, such as The Return of Dr. Chang from 1968. I really want that poster, but it's like, if I've ever seen it for sale, it's at least £100 every time.
Okay.
And it's like, that's my rent. It's a bit much to pay.
Yeah.
I have many different from different countries. If we're talking like Hong Kong stuff, I like many of the French Grandie posters, the really big ones. And I got some good ones like Thundering Mantis is really nice on there. Good shot of Beardy doing Flying Mantis.
I saw a huge copy of, I think it was the Fast Sword, it was called, 1971 film, French edition, and it's a Sun poster, but it was about £100 on eBay recently, and To be honest, I found that the French text plastered across the centre of it kind of spoiled it. Yeah, in other French posters,
it can be
kind of like
off-putting.
it kind of fits them.
Can be off-putting.
Yeah.
For the Thai Hong Kong stuff, there's so many with good artwork. Like Goose Boxer, it's really good. I love that poster. A lot of the Shaw Brothers stuff is quite good. They did different stuff to the Hong Kong releases.
The Five Venoms, I think, is better than the Hong Kong poster.
I still don't have the Thai poster from Five Venoms. I'm after that. It's very hard to come by. But yeah, many of the Shaw Brothers are different artwork, and some of them are really good. Even the drama films, like The Drug Addict, the poster for that is quite good art of T. Long. I have many posters from Hong Kong as well, but to get the old Kung Fu stuff has always been very difficult and expensive. But some of those, like there's a Japanese Hong Kong co-production called Ninja Dragon. That's actually a photo poster rather than artwork, but sometimes I like the way the photos are put together as well.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
the Chi Kwan Chun film, The Golden Mask. That's a good poster.
Yeah.
So I like anything that's good artwork, and I like anything where the pictures are put together in a way that it looks exciting. I really like animal shapes and stuff. Anything that's a shapes film is good.
I've got a particular fondness at the moment for the kind of early 1970s Taiwanese hand-drawn, where you've got that kind of sense of kinetic motion in every single shot, where the characters seem to be almost leaping out of the poster or across the poster.
I don't have many of those. But like I said, the Taiwan websites I can't buy from because I'm not allowed to sign up because I don't have the ID number. But some stuff like The Victim. Have you ever seen a Taiwan poster for The Victim? It's awesome. I wish I could get my hands on them.
Yeah.
There's many like that I'm like, wow, it's so different to the Hong Kong one, and the artwork is amazing, and I can't get it.
Yeah.
Even if I had the money, I can't get it.
James. What you do have, which I've bemoaned many times before, you probably know what's coming here, is a very, very rare copy of Chivalry Deadly Feud, which you...
That was very lucky.
I remember, you got off the Facebook ties auction site, didn't you?
Yes. It turned up in Thailand, which happens occasionally. Not as often as I would hope, but it does happen occasionally.
It does. And can I put that down as one such occasion whereby you struck gold completely out of the blue? And
it has been known to happen. One of the reasons that I like collecting in general is my life is very boring. And occasionally you get that moment of excitement where you see something really good and you go, I want that!
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen nearly often enough.
And then the anticipation waiting for it to arrive.
It's been very difficult recently to get any films that I want. Most of the stuff that's released these days I've already got. Like the Young Master came out on Blu-ray from 88 Films, and I'm like, that would be the 8th version of the film. Is it really worth it? And I just say, no, it's not worth buying again. But even if I did, I can't watch it here because I don't have a UK Blu-ray player, and their disc won't play on my Blu-ray player. So I'd have to get that as well. So instead of buying the actual films, I've been buying more the lobby cards and the posters lately because I have more access to that.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point now where there's not much that turns up that I need.
Yes.
Which is quite difficult.
Yes. You've mentioned that to me before. I think that's the case throughout the collecting world at the moment. There seems to be, obviously there's a finite amount of material out there.
This is a problem.
Some of it seems very hard to come by these days. Would you say that there are any other bargains you've hit upon that you kind of, just off the top of your head where you thought, wow, that was one of those moments where...
Well, there used to be a guy when I first came to Thailand, and I met him at a flea market which no longer exists, sadly. There used to be 3 good flea markets in Bangkok, and they've all been closed down. Partly because of the military government that came in 5 or 6 years ago. They said, that's illegal, close it down. I was really pissed off when they did that.
I bet.
And a lot of good stuff I used to get that's just gone. But there used to be a flea market at Sanam Luang, which I didn't know about for a few years, and I just found out by accident one day. I happened to be walking down there at night on a weekend, and there's all of these people selling stuff. And I looked around, there was a guy selling posters. And by this time I know some Thai language, so I talked to him. I said, do you have anything else? I've got most of these already. Do you have anything else not here? He's like, yeah, I got a load of stuff. It's at my house. I said, can I come to your house and see? He said, yeah, alright. So I go to his house, and he's got a stack of posters as high as his washing machine. So there's thousands. And I looked through, and everything was really cheap. So I'm asking him, and he's like, really? Really? It's really cheap. So I just go through, and I take one of everything that he's got. And that got me like 1,000 posters out of him, probably more in the end.
Wow.
I went back there a few times, and it's like I'd save up money for a while, and I'd say to him, I'd call him and say, have you got anything different to what I saw last time? He'd say, yeah, so I'd go and have a look. He also had a lot of lobby cards, but the cards were generally in a very poor condition, or they were odd random cards rather than complete sets.
Yeah.
But again, they were quite cheap, so I just picked up whatever he had. And that way I've got lots of random bits from many different films. Thankfully I've managed to get a lot of full sets since, but there are many things that I need to buy again if I see a complete set somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is a bit annoying. But as for the posters, he kind of dried up. He never got anything different to what I already had. So I stopped going there because there was no point anymore.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
It's a great story though. It's the type of story where other collectors like yourself, who have zero access to anything that's not on the internet, kind of, I listen to that and I do get kind of envious of it, but in a kind of, not necessarily in a kind of maliciously jealous way, just kind of, I wish that I'd been there.
I know what you're saying. It happens to me often. I keep saying you're so lucky. I wish I had that.
Yeah,
my best score ever was actually on lobby cards. There was a cinema. I used to just get on buses and go to see where they go, because I can't understand Thai language well enough and I don't know the names of all the places. So I just get on this bus and go to the end of the line, then get on the bus the other way and come back. And I look out the window and see what I can see on the way. And one day I took the number 33, which actually stopped next to a cinema. I was like, alright, let's go and have a look. So I went in, and they understood my bad Thai language well enough to know that I wanted to buy old movie stuff. So they let me have a look at what they had, and they had loads and loads and loads of lobby cards. And they wouldn't let me buy any. And I got a Thai friend on the phone to talk to them, and she said, well, they might need to send it back to the distributor. I'm like, this stuff is 20 years old. You really think the distributor is going to call tomorrow and say, hey, I want that stuff back? And it took about 15 minutes of negotiation. My friend got on the phone and explained that he's a big collector and he'll take good care of it, and he's a really nice person. And in the end, they let me take all of the cards. And I said, how much? And he said, oh no, don't bother. And I forced 1,000 baht on him to buy something nice for the kids. He just refused to take money.
Yeah.
He was really nice. And I got about 1,000 lobby cards out of it.
That's amazing.
For like old Thai stuff from about 20 years ago. Again, it was just like random partial sets. But that was the backbone of what's become my Thai lobby card collection. Which still goes on to this day, which is up to about 3,500 or so cards now. But that's going slow because those things don't turn up so often. It's usually stuff I've already got again. To find the older stuff that I want is a lot more difficult. But as for posters, I don't really have anything like big scores of amazing cheap stuff these days. When you first start, you need everything. Yes. So it's a lot easier to find things you want. Yeah. But then as you get more and more, like I can understand why collectors who have been at it for many years get jaded and they go, oh, it's only stuff, and they sell it off because they've lost the fun from collecting.
Yeah.
Part of the fun is looking for stuff and making those discoveries and having that experience of finding something amazing. And especially now with everything on the internet, it's just click, click, click. It's not the same as going out and looking for it and doing the boot work and stumbling across things and talking to people and finding the stuff. It's not the same as it used to be.
It's not. I think some collectors as well have reached the point where they decide to trim the collections for a specialist area.
I'll never do that.
Well, this is, I mean, I'm still at the kind of Pokemon stage of got to catch them all. But
Me too.
I can kind of understand once storage becomes an issue, which from the look of things might be an issue for you sometime in the next decade.
It's definitely an issue. My apartment basically has a narrow alleyway that I can walk from the front door to the balcony door, and I can get to the bed and I can get to the bathroom, and the rest is just stuff stacked up in every space where it can go.
We're not going to find any Thai news articles in the future after months of silence from you, are we? English collector crushed underneath the weight of own lobby cards or anything like that.
I'm more worried about the building falling down like happened in Miami the other day, frankly. There's some very bad building work in Thailand. But things do fall down. It's usually the stacks of videos that actually collapse because gravity takes hold. And that has given me some pain in my feet a number of times, but it's never hit me in the head yet.
That's weird. So just to wrap things up, last question I suppose. I'll double prong it. Have there been any occasions where you've kind of had any regrets about collecting, or something slipped through your fingers, or I don't know, I mean, are there any posters you've got that you think, well, I don't actually like these very much? Are there any posters that you've thought, I'm deliberately not going to collect those because I dislike them so much?
Alright, well, to answer the first question, I have felt regret from time to time when things have gone wrong, and I have had experiences where posters have gotten wet, or where they've gotten ripped, and I've been like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Aside from that, no regrets. The second part, things that have got away from me, it happens all the time. Often because, like I said, I can't sign up to the website for whatever reason, or there's certain ways that you can pay which I am not capable of doing because of stupid problems. I can't use PayPal because I'm not in the UK and I don't have a UK phone number. They've locked me out of my account, and I've considered trying to start a new account, but in Thailand they don't have PayPal. So I could try and start another account, but I still don't have a UK phone number, so how to do it? It's a bit of a pain in the ass. And I have seen things that I wish I could buy, but I can't use PayPal and I can't pay for it that way, and people say, oh no, I can't take credit card. The only way that I can pay is with cash or credit card or bank transfer now.
Pain in the neck, isn't it?
Rather troublesome. So there are many things that I wish that I could get somehow, but I just don't have the ability to pay for it because of being stuck where I am. But on the other hand, I have access to a lot of stuff here that I would never have had access to had I not come here. So I think that side is better.
Yes, definitely.
So I look at the pros and the cons. Although in Thailand the pros are getting less and the cons are getting more. And I would like to think about going somewhere else maybe for a while.
How about Korea?
Very expensive and hard to get work as a foreigner. And Japan has the same problem. I have considered Malaysia, although there are certain reasons why I wouldn't like to live there. But there is a lot of stuff coming out of Malaysia, especially the old magazines, which I would like to improve my collection of. Posters as well turn up in Malaysia quite often, but again they're from sellers who won't let me pay the ways that I can pay. So I just have to look and go, oh, I wish.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
But there's not much in the way of posters in Thailand that I need anymore. I do buy the odd one now and then. There are things that turn up that I do need that are crazy expensive, like the old stuff. A lot of the Thai sellers have gotten quite greedy of late. We did have a period a few years ago. There's a lot of inflation and the cost of everything here rose, and the poster prices went up then. And due to there being less people selling now, there used to be many people I bought from who have just stopped because it's not worth the effort. Some of them have moved away to other countries. There's a guy I used to go to. There's a famous street in Bangkok called Khao San Road. There used to be a seller down there called Noi. And he was quite expensive, but he's the only person I know who ever had the Young Master 2 sheet. Which I wanted, but he wanted £50 for it, and at the time I didn't have that much money to spend. And then when I went back, it was gone.
Definitely through your fingers more than that.
They go through my fingers. And there have been other posters where people are just showing stuff off, and I'm like, can I buy it? No, just showing it. That happens quite often. People like to show off what they have. But in Thailand now, the prices are going up and up and up, and some people are selling things for 10 times what I paid for them 10 years ago. And it's really quite annoying. So now, if someone asks me, can you get this poster, it's like, well, I can, but it's going to cost you. Whereas 10 years ago, it's a lot easier to find things. Hong Kong posters do still turn up from time to time. Occasionally there's Japanese posters. Unfortunately, most of the selling now is over the internet. And there are two ways that people do it, both of which I hate. One is to put it on their Facebook page, and the first person who says, I want to buy it, gets it. And I'm usually too slow. The other way is people do a live video, and they'll stand there and go, anyone want to buy this? And it takes like 3-4 hours to show a couple of hundred posters, where I'm like, well, I could just look down them on the internet in 2 minutes. And I often have it on in the background, but I don't pay attention because it's too boring and long-winded. And occasionally there's something I want, and I'm too late to get to the keyboard, someone else has already bought it. So it's
some big glues, don't you? Glues to those keyboards, just waiting.
It's all about instant now. You got to be there 24/7 ready. And life's not like that. Sometimes you got to go, screw it, I'm going to go and watch a film.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there are things that get away from me. What was the third part of that question?
Like, are there any things that you don't particularly like? I'll give you an example. This morning I was looking through some of my stuff, and I came across the series Footworks of Kung Fu poster. And try as I might, I just can't find a great deal of kind of enjoyment and appreciation in the artwork on that poster. It's too bland for me.
I know what you're saying. I have thought for some time. Alright. I call myself the Martial Archive. And sometimes people say, well, it's a collection, isn't it? It's not really an archive. An archive is supposed to have loads of 35mm and stuff. I'm like, well, it depends on your definition. My definition of an archive is when you get things for purpose of completeness, whether you like it or not. And there are many things that I have for purpose of completeness that I don't really care for particularly. A lot of it is drama, some of it is porn that I don't really care for, but I collect everything. And I don't really like posters from the last 20 years because it's all boring. I like the old posters a lot more. And I do sometimes think, well, if I hadn't spent all of that money buying all of that crap that's not particularly good, I could have bought this one poster that costs a lot more, but it's quite nice. But my... what's the word I'm looking for? My modus operandi has always been to try and get a lot of stuff that doesn't cost too much so that I can have as much stuff as possible.
Mhm.
Because I want to have everything.
You're a completist.
And I would rather have the 12,000 posters that I have, which some are good, some are not so good, than 1,000 which are all 70s, 80s Kung Fu. Because in that 12,000, I do actually have 1,000 that are 70s, 80s Kung Fu. Because I managed to shop around and get them at good prices, and I got all of the other stuff that comes with it too. Many of which are modern day action films that I also like, comedies that I also like.
Yeah.
And in recent days I've been buying a lot of stuff that's actually not Asian related that I also like. A lot of it very big stuff from France and Italy, for example. It's not easy to get to. Nothing's ever easy to get to. Anytime I want to get to it, I've got to move all of this out of the way. But it can be done. So just random example off the top. What's this? I've got to be careful with that fan. It's annoying. Yeah. We have a Italian tufogli for a film called If You Break It, You Pay.
Nice.
And I just got it because it was cheap and I like the artwork on it. And
Yeah.
the trailer is quite good. It looks like quite a good film.
Yeah.
So in recent months, it's just been a case of anything that takes my fancy, because there's not much in the way of Asian stuff around at the moment. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask actually if you kind of felt that you were naturally branching out because of the poverty of material available in your kind of primary interest genres.
partially. But there is still a lot of stuff about if you can find it, and if you can pay for it, and if you can ship it. And the shipping is a real killer at the moment because of COVID. Everything right now is too damn expensive. But for example, I picked up this little beauty, which you might recognize if I can open. La Dance du Lion.
Fabulous.
Have you guessed what it is yet?
Yeah, that is stunning. What? See, by rights, you should have paid a fortune for that.
It's the Young Master.
It's stunning.
But the problem with these is they're too damn big.
Yeah.
And they're
It's
very
not
hard
the
to
technique you put
store.
on your wall, is it?
No, they're very, very difficult to store. Which
I
is
watched
why
that the other day
I
when they
got a massive pile of
released
stuff.
recently. Very good film.
I'll clear that up later. Yeah, so there is still stuff around, but all the shipping costs have increased quite a lot because of COVID. But there's nothing in Thailand that I really want right now. Although I have lost a lot of money due to COVID because people aren't buying from me because of the shipping costs. People also aren't buying because the cost of the posters have gone up. And people also aren't buying because there's not much good around. So I'm getting a lot of lobbies because those are around at the moment, and filling up that collection. The posters are just getting more and more difficult because of the prices, because of collectors getting them and keeping them. And from time to time things do turn up, but it's very rare at the moment. I've lost a lot of the excitement that I had when I came to Thailand. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
My exciting moments are getting fewer and further between. So I'm
Still live for the thrill of the chase.
yeah, so I'm biting the bullet, and I'm buying mostly Italian and French stuff at the moment because that's what's available. But they're very big and hard to deal with. So I don't know if you can see. I've actually split my posters into two piles. Behind the fan, there's a very large pile of posters. Can't aim this damn thing. So that's about 3 feet of large size posters. And then down by my feet, I have two piles of normal size posters, which is split into Thai posters for Thai films, Hong Kong posters for Hong Kong films, Thai posters for Hong Kong films, Japanese posters for Japanese films, Japanese posters for Hong Kong films. It's split into many subcategories, which are all in these bags. And
Wow.
it's hard to find stuff, but I know roughly where things are.
Mm.
So if for some reason I need to get to the Japanese My Lucky Stars poster, I got to find the Japan Hong Kong posters bag, and I got to rummage through and pull out the right one.
Yeah.
So it's not as good as it could be, but it's as good as I can do with what's available to me. I would like to have a proper facility with lots of drawers and shelves and places to put things, but it's not that easy, is it, in the real world?
It's no different to my cardboard boxes full of standing shoes. At least you know where things are. I have none of mine labelled. It's just a lottery when I open a tube.
Well, I do plan to take photos of all of it one day, and I do have photos of a lot of it, but nowhere near all of it.
No.
It's one of those things that I need to do someday. It gets confusing. Even just trying to list what I have takes a long time to go through and figure it all out.
Yeah.
And by the time I think I'm getting somewhere, I've got new stuff that's been thrown on top of the pile, and I forget what I've done and what I haven't done. This room is just too small. I need a bigger room where I can space things out properly.
Yeah.
And this is what I've done, this is what I haven't done, this is new stuff. But it all just gets thrown where there's space to put it.
Some kind of aircraft hangar, perhaps.
Not the best.
Which you've got.
I would like to. Right now it's not doable, but maybe sometime in the future. Who knows?
Well, thank you very much, James. Thanks for everything I've thrown at you. That's been enlightening, fascinating, intriguing, and once again, I'm still as jealous as I was.
I feel we should throw some more names of Hong Kong films in there. My memory is so bad that if you ask me what my favourites are, I can't access all of the pictures in my head to think. But if you put them all in front of me, I can say that one, I love those.
Yeah.
My brain works that way. But many of the Hong Kong posters are really good, though. If I could have my way, I'd have them all. And I'm working on it.
I echo that.
One day. My main aim at the moment with the Marshall Archive is to just try and get as much information as I can. And as you may be aware, I've been working on my book about Thai movies, and I've been pulling all of the pieces together. And if you want to know anything about Thai films, I know almost everything there is now.
Brilliant. What encyclopedia?
I've actually, through my... I have some Thai language ability. I can read it very well. I can't understand it much, but I can read it well. So what I've done is I've been very methodical, and I've gone through every film in sequence from the first known film, and I'm only up to 1971 right now. But I've gone through every film. If I got the film, I watch the film, I take down the credits from the film directly, then I look at the poster, I look at the lobby cards. In many cases you can't find anything on the internet. This is something that we should talk about, but I'm not sure how to phrase the question, but I can tell you the answer. One of the reasons I like collecting posters and lobby cards is because sometimes you make discoveries. And for example, talking about the Thai movies, there are still Thai movies that nobody knows about, even Thai people. And just last week I had some new lobby cards come in, including a set of cards for a film that nobody knows. If you Google this, you will find nothing. Even if you Google the name in Thai language, there is nothing on the internet at all.
Wow.
As far as I can tell, this film is not available on VCD, DVD, video. There's never been a release of it. That has happened sometimes. I have a film on 35mm that's never come out on home video in any format, which I wish I could watch, but I can't because I don't have a 35mm projector.
Yeah, wow.
In this case, all I have are these cards. It's for a film called Come On, Where's the Head? And you can't really see very well, it's not a very good picture, but it's about a guy with a head.
Right.
It's one of those headless ghost films. And it looks like some kind of mad comedy. So one of the reasons that I like collecting the posters and the lobby cards is because there are many films that you just cannot find no matter how hard you try. But you can still find the materials from time to time. And it's about knowledge. I want to know everything.
Yeah, it's like a voyage of discovery as well for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a voyage of discovery. I have many problems in life, but two of them are I don't sleep much because I'm an idiopathic insomniac. I've never been able to sleep and nobody knows why. And I have the kind of brain that is very bored very quickly and hates boredom. And I need something to fill that boredom. And when I was young, it started out with my father was a stamp collector. I never liked stamps much. But when he took me to these stamp events to look for things to get, there are often people selling coins. So I started with a coin collection. I collected foreign money. And I had books about that, and I would know all about the different coins and the years they were made and all of that. I've forgotten most of it now because I got a bad memory, partly because I don't sleep much. Then after I got bored of that, it became Star Wars, and I collected all the different Star Wars stuff. And again, it wasn't just the toys, it was all of the assorted ephemera that goes with it, like the R2-D2 string dispenser and the Darth Vader tape dispenser and all that stuff. And I have a very, very good book about that, which has thousands and thousands of listings for prices, and it's got hundreds of pictures of all the different crap that they released. And to me that was just fascinating. And I couldn't get most of it because I'm in the wrong country. Most of it came out in America, but I got what I could, and I've still got it all in boxes on the racks over there. Magazines and cereal boxes and all kinds of random crap. But then Phantom Menace came out, and I went, screw Star Wars, I hate it. I just gave up on that. I'm not sure when Phantom Menace came out, but I think the Hong Kong films had already started by that time. And once I started watching a few of them, I realised that, well, whereas Star Wars is 3 films, this is hundreds of films, thousands of films, and I like them. So it started out that way, and it was just something to fill the boredom of life, which
I
may
know
sound
exactly where you're
strange.
coming from. When I first started getting the Kung Fu movies, I saw all of the films put out by Toby Russell's Vengeance video label, and I just had to get every single one. The whole set fascinated me, and then you know, after that you realise that there are thousands of others out there that haven't had necessarily official releases and things like that, and mine branched off from there.
And especially now, I don't like modern films. And there are many reasons for that, but generally they just aren't as entertaining. And I find that the old films, although they're low budget, they try to be entertaining in a way that modern films don't. The modern film is all about the spectacle of the CGI dragon flying round, and I couldn't give a crap about that. I'm more interested in the cat-style kung fu. I'd rather watch Jackie Chan leaping through the sky going, and that's a lot more fun to me. So, really, I do all of this because my brain is weird and it needs something to keep it busy. And part of that is watching films, but part of it is trying to find the stuff, and part of it is trying to... what's the word? I've been in Thailand too long, I've forgotten English words. When you're working at an archive, you have to keep track of things, you have to put them in order, you have to know where things are. You have to catalogue things. So part of my time is spent doing that. And right now doing my book about Thai movies, I got all of these pictures which, due to computer problems, are on 2 different hard disks and the computer. I got to put it all together. I got to put names on everything. I got to collate them by year of release, and it just gives me something to do.
Yeah.
And I could go out earning money, but that's boring. I'd rather be here doing my own thing. I've led my life differently to most people. I've been semi-retired since I left school. I decided to do things the other way around to most people. So whereas you've all been working and getting a house and a mortgage and a wife and kids and a car, I don't have any of that. All I have is this. And I know which I would rather have. Other people have problems. You have a big collection and your wife complains. And she says, you can't keep it in the house, you got to put it somewhere else. So you get a shed in the garden, or you get a storage unit, or whatever. Some people end up selling it off because it's not worth the arguments. I see there you have a cat. I could never have a cat because it would probably die in here. It would knock something over that would crush it. And at some point in your life, if you want to be a collector, you have to choose that path.
Yeah.
And if you do choose that path, it brings a lot of good to your life and a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment, but it can cause complications in many ways. Like, if I ever get kicked out of my room and have to go somewhere else, because I rent, I don't own this place, well, I got to move all of this stuff, which is difficult. And I got to find somewhere to keep it, which is difficult. Many apartments, in fact the majority of apartments in Bangkok at least, are smaller than this room. I can't just move to any apartment. I have to find one of the hard to find ones that's as big as this, that everything will fit in. And I would like to go to another country for a while, but all of this stuff is a millstone round my neck. I can't forego this. And I have a friend in Thailand who thinks I'm completely crazy. He said, like, you care about your collection more than you care about yourself. And it's like, yeah, I do. If it came to the point where I have to sell something that I really love to survive, or I have to not eat for a week, I don't eat.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's got to be. Like, that poster that I have that you want, that I won't let you have,
yeah.
I won't sell it because there's only one.
Yeah.
And I cannot let it go because I might never find it again. And I was talking to my mother recently. With all of this COVID stuff, I've lost my job and life's difficult. I haven't worked for 8 months and money's almost gone. And I was saying, like, well, I suppose I could sell some of this stuff. And she's like, yeah, but you might not be able to find it again. Like, 25 years, she finally understands. Seriously, she said that to me and I was like, ah, it's a bit of a revelation. So it takes a certain mindset to do this.
Yeah.
And I think most of us do it partly because we need something to fill the boredom of our lives. Which might sound trite, but I think it's true. Life can be very boring at times. And I think it's just something to do. We like it because it keeps us busy. You've got to have a hobby in life. If you don't have a hobby, what are you going to do in your free time? Work more.
Exactly.
I don't like working. I make no bones about it.
Well, nobody ever lies on the deathbed and says, I wish I'd worked more.
Yes, absolutely. But I work to live, I do not live to work.
Yeah.
Except when it's film related, I will sit here all day, every day for 20 damn hours slogging away at it. My database of Japanese films, which you've never seen, you have no idea. But I found a Japanese website which had entries for 20,000 Japanese films, all in Japanese language, but it was set up in such a way that I could see every entry and I could find them easily. So I downloaded everything. I copied and pasted 20,000 pages from that website.
Wow.
And I translated every word of it into English. Then I used Microsoft Word I used the copy and replace function, so that every time this name appears in Japanese, it will change it to English.
Okay.
And I kept a master list of the Japanese language for every person's name. So it took me a full year. And I was pretty much here for 20 hours almost every day, for 365 days doing this. Because the computer had memory problems. It couldn't open the complete 20,000 pages in one go. So I had to replace all of the words a part at a time, and I had to do it like 30 times.
Oh, good lord.
It was rather a pain in the ass. So it's just you've got this sea of Japanese, but you know this is title, so you change every instance of that to title. And you change every instance of this to year. You change every instance of this to director. Then you can see this is a director's name. So you search a director's list. You have the master list of names. You copy and paste that. You find the name. You go back. You replace that name in English. And you do this for every name until you've replaced everything in that document. And everything is in English. Then you put that into the main list and it gets longer and longer.
And this is true labour of love. It took you a whole year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So whilst it doesn't have every Japanese film made, there's still probably at least 30,000 more that are missing. But it's a framework to start from.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do, which no one else seems to give a crap about, I want to get complete information for every country. I want to do for every other country what I've been doing for the Thai films, where I know the name of every film, I have whatever credits are available from whatever source can be found, and I have as many of the films as I can get my hands on. So in the case of Thai films, there's about 6,000 that have been made. I've got about 2,000 of them. I have the physical poster or lobby cards or picture poster and lobby cards that I can get credits from for another few hundred that I don't have the actual film. So it's just putting it all together. You got all of these disparate parts, and something that I like is a good puzzle. Although things like crossword and Sudoku drive me crazy, but this puzzle, putting all the information together, I find interesting.
Yeah.
And you find out things that other people don't know. Like for example, do you know the film Last Breath with Tan Tao Liang?
Yes. I've heard of
Also
it.
known as Jungle Heat.
Yes.
Is released abroad under that name. Also released in Thailand in a different form. Nobody has the Thai version. But I have the Thai poster and I have the Thai lobby cards, and they prominently feature a Thai actor who is not in Last Breath and not in Jungle Heat.
Wow.
The Thai version is also different. So you've got the international version and the Hong Kong version and the Thai version. And maybe others that we don't know about yet. Who can say there might be a Korean version?
Yeah, like totally different cuts.
So for me, it's fascinating to put it all together and find out what's going on. I like the story behind things. And it's just like knowing things that nobody else knows. There are certain other films that I'm not going to talk about right now. You have to buy my book, as and when. But there are other things like that you find out stuff, and there's some mad stuff that goes on. There's a Thai film called Chak Glua, which is lost in Thailand, but it was released abroad by IFD under the title Dirty Heroes. So I have a friend who's quite crazy. He's even worse than me about Thai films. He wants to have every Thai film ever. And he got his hands on a copy of Dirty Heroes. And I and my friend Bon helped translate the English dub into Thai language. And then he got a team of people to make a new Thai dub to put on the English dub of the film, because it's lost in Thailand. So now it's available to Thai people with a newly made Thai dub.
Wow.
And he sold it to his community of friends who are interested.
Yeah.
And there's little things like that that go on. There's a lot of projects and people making composites of films with the different bits that are missing. And I could do that, but it's too much hard work. But there are many films that are lost in Thailand, but they survived in other countries in different forms. And that happens with other countries' films too. And that's part of the interest for me, trying to find all of this stuff. There's one film in particular. I know a guy in Sweden, and he has some films on 35mm. And one of them is a Thai film which is available on DVD. And it's not a bad copy, but it's only full screen. This guy's got a 35mm print which is pristine, because it was released in Sweden on videotape in the 1980s. And this guy knew the guy who ran the video company, and instead of paying him for something, he gave him this 35mm print of the film. And he's kept it all of these years.
Wow.
And I wanted to get it from him, but we couldn't agree on a trade for it. I might get back to him about it. But little things like that happen, and it's like there are many stories that I hear from people who were around years ago, when a lot more stuff was around, like Toby. Toby has many good stories, and I've only heard a small fraction of them. But from time to time, he comes out with things that you're like, really, wow. And it's like something that I love about Eastern heroes. Snake Deadly Act. You know that film? Have you seen the magazine article where Rick Baker is like, I offered the keys to my car, the keys to the shop, if anyone could give me that damn film. But nobody could. And then one day they suddenly released it on video. And I asked Toby, like, how did you find it? And he said, oh, we were at some thing somewhere in Hong Kong, and the producer Li Ching was there, and we just asked her, have you got it? And she said, yeah.
That's like, great, isn't it?
As simple as that. You just had to ask the right question to the right person at the right time in the right place. And there's a lot of hope that through research, through having this stuff and knowing about these things, we can help bring things to light that are in the dark. Do you know what I mean? There are other lost films that can be found. And it's like this Thai version of Last Breath, Jungle Heat. Thai Film Archive says they've got a copy of the Thai version. And they were going to do a screening of it, which they cancelled. And I think they got the complete film, I'm not sure. They put a few clips on the internet. And I've been trying and trying and trying. I gave up now, but I tried quite hard for a while to get them to let me see it. And they wouldn't. And I don't know why they won't. Even if it's incomplete, I don't care. I just want to see what's there. I want to see how it's different. But something that really aggravates me, angers me. There's a lot of things around the world which are in film archives, which we know are there, but we're not allowed to see. And one of the reasons that I have a good collection of Thai stuff, when I came to Thailand, I wanted to know about Thai films. Looked on the internet, very little there in English language. More in Thai language, but I can't read it. I went to the Thai Film Archive, I found out about them. I'm like, there must be a film archive in this place somewhere. And I found there was. So I went there and I asked. And there was only one guy who speaks English, who was the man in charge. And he was a very busy man. And he said, no, I don't have time to help you, I'm busy. And I was like, come on, man. All I want is some information. Give me the names of some films. Tell me where I can go and buy some. And he wouldn't help me at all. So, the reason that my information on Thai films is good is because I've had to go from nothing and do it all myself. And I had to learn to read the language. I had to find out where to get stuff from. And although, as I've seen this week, I discovered a new film that's missing that I've never heard of until last week. These things are still out there somewhere. And it's just putting the pieces together. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy the discovering something, going, wow, what's that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And this is something that I really love, but it's getting harder and harder now. And
sometimes you come across like posters as well that reveal things that you didn't know existed. I mean, what springs to mind is you'll have probably heard of the 1985 North Korean kaiju film called Pulgasari.
indeed.
Yes. Supposedly there was a very similar release, I think in the 60s in Korea, called Bulgasari. But the only information we have is a solitary poster. And whether or
Interesting.
not that poster is even genuine is open to debate, but that's kind of
This
the
is the
thrill
stuff I
of it,
love.
isn't it? Yeah.
You can shove your Marvel crap where the sun don't shine. I don't care about that. I'm more interested in Bulgasari. I want to see. Yeah. So there are other things. There's a Thai poster for a Hong Kong film which has the wrong actor on it. It has a Thai actor instead of the star of the film.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you which it is. You'll have to get my book.
Okay.
But it was because I saw that poster that started a 10-year search to find any information on it. It's 10 years on and I'm still looking for the actual film. It doesn't seem to exist. I have photos. I have a magazine which has an article on it with colour photos from it. I can see which film it is quite clearly, but it's the wrong damn actor. And they did the same thing that they did with Jungle Heat. They shot a different version for Thailand.
Yeah.
And I asked the Hong Kong actor Johnny Chang, who is also in the film. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I asked him, "You make two versions of this film, right?" He said, "Yeah. How did you know?" So I was like, "How did it work? Was it like you film one shot with the Hong Kong actor, and then he walks out, and the Thai actor walks in, and you film the same shot?" He said, "Yeah, that's exactly what we did."
Yeah.
Alright, so it's like, how often did this happen that we don't know about because it's just no one's ever been told?
Yeah.
There's also a Thai film that I discovered with Wilson Tong. And Toby Russell came to Thailand a few years ago. They were working on a film called Kill 'Em All with Gordon Liu.
Mhm.
And I told Toby, there's a Thai film with Wilson. He said, "No, there isn't." I said, "Yes, there is." He said, "No, he would have told me if he'd done that." "Come with me, we'll buy it. I know where we can get it." So I took him to the market and I bought the film and gave it to him. It's called Tao Huai Lai Liao. It's a Thai film with Sombat Metane, and he fights with Wilson Tong in two of the fight scenes. And Toby was astounded that there was this film that he didn't know about.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff happens.
Yeah.
And you need the right people in the right place to know what they're looking at. Whether it's
Yeah.
the film itself or the lobby cards or the poster or the magazine article, whatever it is. You need the person who can recognize it and say, "I know what that is, but it's wrong. And why is it wrong?" And figure it out. So this seems to have happened quite a lot. Gordon Liu as well. He was in a Thai film with Panaritikrai. Most people don't know. It's either Danger City 1 or Danger City 2, I can't remember. He's in it for like one fight scene because he has a Thai wife. And I don't know how it ended up, but they got him to be in this film somehow. And he just has this one scene and then he disappears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's stuff like that that I live for. I just love finding out about it.
Yeah. It's the fascinating stuff, isn't it? That,
So that's one of the big things with the posters. Right? Sometimes you get the poster, but you can't get the film. But it reveals things. You learn about this stuff that is out there somewhere in the ether. And it's the challenge of trying to find it.
Yeah.
Which for many things now you just Google it and there's some bootleg copy on YouTube, which is a crappy quality copy, but at least you can see it.
Yeah.
But I like to get an original videotape or whatever if I can. So anyway, I'm rambling on and on, but for me that's really why I do it. I get so much enjoyment out of putting the pieces together and figuring it all out, trying to get the complete picture of what there is. And
well, that's great. I mean, that's a very unique take to add to this little thing I'm trying to put together. It's one I hadn't even considered, to be frank, so this has been highly educational for them
So,
as well.
right now, I'm kind of the expert on Thai films. I'm pretty good on Hong Kong films. I'm pretty good on Taiwan films. Mainland China films, not so much, because they rarely had subtitles and they're very hard to get. Japanese films, I know quite a lot, but I don't have many of the films. But I know a lot of information. I have to work on the Koreans, the Indonesians, and the Vietnamese. I just got hold of 400 Vietnamese films that I have to go through. Watch the films, take down the credits and all of that.
Fantastic.
So I just want to know everything. And I did start work on Indian films, but that's a massive, massive project.
Yeah.
India has 27 different regions that produce films. You got the Hindi, the Urdu, the Tamil, the Kannada, all these different things. And they all have their own different stars and their own different groups of people who make the films. This Hindi film was released with an Urdu dub and a Tamil dub, and they changed the name of the film, and so confusing. But I love doing that as well. So, I put that to one side for now because I got to get the Thai stuff done to get the books out. And trying to find a publisher for that, very difficult. I might have to self-publish, but I can't afford to with all this COVID crap and no job at the moment. As and when I have work and I have steady income and I have savings, I might self-publish if I have to. But we shall see. So, it's often like the interplay between the different countries that I find interesting. Like the Hong Kong film with the Japanese star that was shot in Korea with this Korean actor, and the way that it all comes together. So I want to know everything about Asian films in general. The Indians, Pakistani and all of that, not so much. Those aren't my main focus. My main focus is really Hong Kong and Thai, because that's what I know most about. But I'm trying to expand my knowledge in the other areas. And trying to get the posters is a good start to that. You buy whatever films you can find, but then there are posters and photos and magazine articles and whatever else for films that just aren't available however hard you try. And that's part of why I collect the posters, for the information. But I also just love the way a lot of them look. And recently I've been getting into the Japanese posters. Even though they're photos instead of artwork, they put them together in a creative way, which I also quite like. But I think Thai posters are still my favourites. But if you go country to country, like Belgium does good artwork, but the posters are really small. And they're too small. If you look at something like Yugoslavia posters, they're usually just photo montage, which isn't so interesting. Thailand really has a certain time limit. When you get up to the 1990s, most of the artwork disappears, and it's just photos. So, really, I don't really care about recent stuff very much. My focus is that I decided to put a limit on where I focus my energies, and most things after the invention of the internet are pretty well documented. So like the Thai books that I'm planning to do, I'm probably going to go up to the year 2000 and then stop. And so if you want to know about anything in 2001, Google it, you can find it. But before 2000, it's very sketchy. Especially with the Thai movies, very sketchy. It's like you look on the well-known internet film sites, and you look for this Thai actor, and you'll find like 12 films that he did. I'm like, he did at least 200. Come on. And this is something that I found with the Japanese stuff, especially people with the Japan films like to put an English name on it. But they don't put a translation, they put a transliteration of the Thai title. And that makes life incredibly difficult. I cannot find things using the transliterations. Whereas if I have the original Thai title, I can stick that in Google and a load of stuff comes up. And part of the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing is to get the original titles and the original names in the original languages. and then when you're looking for the information, you can find it a lot more easily.
Yeah.
And I know that you shouldn't download films from the internet, but often you can find things which you have no way of finding any other way. Like the Korean Film Archive put a load of old Korean films on the internet.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, you cannot buy them on DVD. I could be wrong, but films like Aimless Bullet, some of them they have actually since released on DVD. They've done like collections of some films from this director and some films from that director. But there's a lot of stuff on the internet that you just cannot buy. And these people are making their money through views. If they get enough views, then YouTube gives them money for having it there, and it's better than making nothing from it.
Yeah.
So really collecting is going that way, and I don't like that way. I like to have my physical media. I like to have this stuff. There's something different about it. And although it is a pain in the ass to keep it and store it and try and take care of it, I like to have it.
It's more tangible, isn't it?
Tangible, that's a good word. I like tangible assets.
Yeah.
And as someone else said to me, someone said to me once, you pay $10 to watch this film on the internet and all you got is a memory. If you pay $10 to buy that DVD, Blu-ray, you can sell it if you want to later on and you get some money back. So, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, I've always bought. I've never been a renter. Ever since the first Hong Kong film that I bought. In 1994, Keith lent me some films that I watched. And then I went out to the rental shops trying to find some of these old videos. And car boot sales, I found a lot of good stuff. But the first film I bought was Operation Condor, which I soon found out the rental is widescreen, the sell-through is full screen. I got the rental, I got the widescreen version. Yes! I'm so happy about that. Because from the start I've always been original language and widescreen as far as possible. Unfortunately Operation Condor was English dub, but it's one of the better dubs, so I could live with it. But like recently, Operation Condor came out from 88 Films in a new extended version. I haven't seen it yet, I don't know what's extra, but I want to see that at some point. So there are all of these things that are still happening from time to time. There's like something new comes out. Something that I did find out, Young Master, 88 Films. I haven't seen it, but I heard they put 2 different versions of the film on. But
I think there might even be 3, as far as I remember.
Does it have the Taiwan cut?
It's got the original theatrical cut, and I'd have to check the box, to be honest.
Because
I watched the original cut.
In Taiwan, as we know, there were some different cuts of some of the films. And the Taiwan cut of Young Master has a lot of different footage. It's not in the Hong Kong version. And in Japan, they released Young Master on Blu-ray, and as an extra, they put on the complete Taiwan cut of the film.
Yeah.
But it's from an old Taiwan videotape. It's really poor quality.
Yeah.
But it's things like that that I love. Like you cannot just go on Amazon Prime and find the Taiwan cut of the Young Master. You've got to you got to know it exists to start with. As they say, knowledge is power. And something that I would say to any collector is you got to know your stuff. Whatever you're collecting, you need to research, you need to find out about it, you need to know what is out there. And that is why I do what I do, because I want to get everything. Which I know I never will. Which is good, because if I ever get everything, I will be bored.
Yeah, well, yes, this is true.
But my aim is to know as much as I can know, and get as much as I can get. And something else that... This might sound incredibly arrogant, but I feel that I'm doing a service. Although, as long as it's all just here and in my computer, it's not much use to other people. But I want to publish these books on Thai films. I'm not going to give it away, because I put 10 years of work into this damn thing. I'm not going to give it away for free. But if I can sell it as a book, I will. And then other people can learn.
It sounds arrogant, and I don't think that's unreasonable at all.
And I do feel that those of us, like you and me, who try and learn about this stuff, who try and share our passion for it with other people, I feel like we're keeping alive somehow things that otherwise might die.
Definitely.
That's one of the reasons that I loved Eastern Heroes. Let's talk specifically about them, since it's for their magazine. There are so many things that I saw because of Eastern Heroes that I might not have seen otherwise. And there are many things that I know and that I learnt from them. The book, Essential Guide to Hong Kong Movies, was a game changer for me. And this was maybe before I had internet. I'm not sure what year it came out. But the information in that book was so good. And that book went with me everywhere. Yeah, I was still in school when I got it, so it was before I had internet. And that book had so much good information in it. And it just changed my life, because suddenly I'm learning this stuff. And I want to somehow be able to do that for someone else. I want to publish something that people will look at and go, wow, where has this been? I've been waiting for this to come along.
Yeah, like an amazing resource.
And although the following in the world is not very big for Thai movies, if you want to know about Hong Kong films, there's places you can look. If you want to know about Japanese films, there's places you can look. There's massive holes a mile wide in the information, and there's many things that are missing from it, but you can try and piece together what you can. Whereas Thai movies, there's a teeny tiny little bit of information out there in English.
Yeah.
There's a bit more in Thai, if you can read Thai, if you can use Google Translate, but Thai does not translate to English very well.
No.
And it's like, there was someone I spoke to in England, I can't remember who it was, but he found some guy in Thailand to send him some old Thai movies. And he's like, I don't know what any of them are, can you help me out and put names on them? Which I did. And I call it the Wall of Thainess. In the same way that China has the Great Chinese Firewall, Thai culture has the Great Wall of Thailand. And they're like, Thai culture is for Thai people, no one else can understand. And there was an event at the Bangkok Film Festival when they still had it. It stopped for many years now, but the last one that they had, I went there, and they had some discussion where Bay Logan was there. And they were talking about trying to sell Thai movies abroad. And I wish I had a video of this, but I don't. And I stood up in front of everyone and I said, you know why Thai movies aren't popular abroad? Because there is no access to them. Ask Bay, why were Hong Kong movies popular? They had English titles. They put English credits on the films so you know who people are. They put English subtitles on the films because by law they had to. For the Chinese government to know what people were saying. They were worried about the English being subversive.
Yeah.
And because people knew the name of the film, who was in it and what it was about, they could talk about it.
Yeah.
I send someone this Panorama movie, they go, it was great, but I don't know what it's called, I don't know who's in it, I don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
All I can say is, this is the cover, and it's got some good action, you should watch it. But you can't get it, because you're not in Thailand.
Yeah.
So, you've got to know what you're talking about. And getting the posters is a big part of that. When you see the poster image, even if you see pictures from it, it has no English name, but you've seen the poster before and you know what it is. And this is how I started with the Thai movies. I didn't know any of the names of any of the movies, but I recognize the pictures. And it's from recognizing the poster images that you start to learn about what's going on. So that's been a very big help to me. And I find the same with any other country. I start by looking at what I can find on the internet. I get pictures of DVD covers and pictures of posters, and I try and learn the names of some of the big players. I'm like, right, well, I don't know much about it, but I recognise that actor, so I can put his name to that film. And sometimes you find, oh, this is the English name, this is the Hindi name, copy and paste that to my list. And I've been keeping these lists since about 1996. Before I had a computer, I was writing on cards by hand. I was like, The Armour of God, starring Jackie Chan, directed by... And I was keeping it on these little catalogue cards. And then, again, before I had internet, I got a computer. So then I copied all of the information across to the computer so that I could access it much more easily. And then all of my databasing information has just blown up from there. So I'm trying to get an overall view of everything that I can, which includes everything. The films, the posters, the lobby cards, the magazines, just anything that I can get which might help fill in some pieces of the puzzle. And it's a very difficult thing to do.
It's a huge task. It's like Herculean, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to learn Korean language so I can do the Korean films. They only have 24 letters. It should be quite easy. I'm serious about that.
I'll remind you of that when you turn your hair out.
Well, Chinese and Japanese are very difficult because they have thousands and thousands of different characters.
Yeah.
But Korean language, 24 letters. And they're put together in certain ways, but as long as you can understand the way they go together, you can read the words.
Yeah.
And as I found with the Thai movies, being able to read Thai language, I can do a lot of stuff. I don't need to understand it. Although, for everything in the book, I've put the transliteration and the translation, so that, Ger Ma Lui means born to fight. Luk Ma Kun Ma Ka means wake it to kill. So that you can put names to these things. And I hope that with the name of the film, the actors, the directors, I'm writing reviews of every film I've got, or synopsis where I can't get the film, if synopsis is available. So you can at least have some idea what the films are about. And in this way it will help people get access if they want to know. Unfortunately, most of the good Thai films are only available in very poor quality, or not available at all. And there are some people who have come to recent Thai films, they've been like, Ong Bak, great, Tom Yum Goong, great, Born to Fight, great. But then Thailand doesn't really make many action films, and there's been none since Panna died, really. Which is like 6 years now, I think. And maybe 7, I've lost count. So now a lot of people are like, I gave Thai films so many chances, I bought a few of them, and that was not good, and that was not good, and that was not good, and screw Thai films. It's like, but the recent stuff is crap. You need to see the old stuff, and people just don't know that.
And this is where you come in.
Well, hopefully, if I can get the books out there, then people can know about it. And it's like, well, if you only want action films, Panna made about 100. Most of those have something in them that's worth seeing. Sarpong and Sombat make quite a lot of action stuff. Most of it's really crappy quality copies, but some of them have some good fights here and there. And it's just trying to put it all together. People need to be able to find out if they want to know. And I could give it away for free. I could put it all on the well-known film websites, but why should I go to the effort of putting it on there, on top of what I've already been doing, and why should I give it away for free? It might sound mercenary, but I put so much work into it, I'm not giving it away for free.
Nah, there's plenty of other review books out there that tried to, make a living out of their efforts. There's no reason you shouldn't.
I saw one book, you might find this funny, I saw one book called The Complete Thai Movie Source Book. You can Google it, I don't know if you'll find it. They had like reviews of 50 films in there with a little bit of information about Penet Ratanaruang and some of the art house directors. I'm like, you say it's complete. You got 50 movies out of 6,000. How is that even close to complete?
Yes,
it's ridiculous.
Yes.
And it's like, there was one book that I saw on the internet. I saw a PDF file of it, and it's all about Asian films, and it's like China movies, Japan movies, Filipino movies, Indian movies. No Thai movies.
Yeah.
None. And like, there's just such a gap that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And although I don't have every Thai movie poster, I've got about 1,300, 1,400 posters for Thai movies. But on my computer, I have many, 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 many more. And a lot of the old stuff that if I wanted to buy the actual physical poster, it would cost me £100. Yeah. But I've got a nice picture of it that I can read all of the credits and translate off of it.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it that way. And it's just, the posters are an integral part of the bigger image. And without the posters and the lobby cards, there's so much that would just be gone that we'd have no idea about.
Yeah, because for some, like you said before, it's the only clue, isn't it?
Well, like I said earlier, film archives have things that they won't let people see, and it really annoys me. There's a Thai film called Operation Bangkok, 1966. It was shot in Hong Kong and Thailand, and it has Hong Kong and Thai actors. The Hong Kong cut is different to the Thai cut, and the Hong Kong version is lost. Nobody has it.
Okay.
But the Hong Kong Film Archive has a set of lobby cards from it, which you can only see if you go there in person, and you're not allowed to make copies or take photos in any way. So you can see it, but you can't do anything with it.
Right.
And then there was a clip of the film on YouTube from a TV channel, which seems to be a Taiwan TV channel, I'm not sure. I tried to contact the person through YouTube to ask if he has the whole film, and he never replied.
Right.
So I don't know. So maybe this Hong Kong cut is out there somewhere. On Facebook, they were talking recently about the Thai film I showed you. I got a reprint of the poster. Right there. Now, this film is available on VCD. Also on DVD now, I think. But on Thai TV, about 12 years ago, it was on one of the TV channels. And I was like, oh, it's a Thai action movie. I had no idea what it was. But I sat and watched it, and I figured out it was that film.
Right.
And at this time, it's not available in Hong Kong. Can't get it anywhere. Now it's out on VCD only in Hong Kong as H-Bomb. It did come out on video in some countries, but I've never managed to find it. But it was on Thai TV, and it was dubbed in English with Thai subtitles. I'm like, holy crap. So I went to the TV company, and I asked if they could help me get a copy of it. They said, go to the market and buy it. I said, I've done that already. It's only in Thai language. You have it in English. I want it in English. Refused to help me. Wouldn't let me through the door. It's things like that that drive me up the wall. These things need to be known about, and they need to be available somehow. And the dream is that one day there will be a website that has it all. That you can just go there, you can say, I'm interested in this movie from this country, and they'll have a picture of the poster, they'll have the lobby set, they'll have the film. And you can pay a couple of pounds to watch the film if you want to. And if you had that, I mean, I don't watch TV anymore. Because apart from the fact I'm in Thailand and most of it's dubbed in Thai, there are some channels that have English language stuff, but they seldom work properly. The sound is out of sync with the picture, or the channel disappears completely and whatever. So I've been pretty much using the internet for my TV for the last 12 years. And I just find whatever I want on there. And that is the future. And when it is all on the internet, something that annoys me about the internet in general is that everything is so fractured. It's like, if you want to watch Disney, you must go to the Disney Channel. And if you want to watch Marvel, you got to go to Disney. Because only Disney has it. They own Marvel. And now Disney has their own TV channel, and you can watch everything on there. But they repeat the same crap ad infinitum. They have one film that's on for a whole month, 3 times a day through the month, and you can't see what you want to see when you want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the reason that I keep the physical media, so that
Mm-hmm.
many people on YouTube have been talking about this. You go to Netflix, you can't find that movie that you want to see. I don't have that problem. I can watch this anytime I want. Yeah. But I do hope that one day all of this stuff that's not known about will be known about.
Yeah.
And if you want to find the poster for something, you can go and find it. And it's just putting it all together in a cohesive way.
That's right. Form a complete picture.
Everyone on the internet has their own little thing that they do. And it needs to be one place that has it all together. There needs to be a website, movies.com. And everything about movies, from every movie in the whole world, is right there. And you don't have to go here, you don't have to go there, you don't have to go to this website, find out about that country, and that website, find out about that director, and this website, find out about that actor. It's all right there in the same place. It'll probably never happen, unfortunately, but it would make life so much easier if it did.
It would, yeah. Well, we can dream. And efforts like you're making at the moment do help push us in that direction.
I hope so. And I do like to get as much as I can from different countries. I've always done that from the start. As soon as I had internet and I was looking at the internet auctions, it's just a case of what's cheap. And I would just get as much as I could. It's like, well, this seller is in America and I have to pay the shipping from America and the posters cost this much. Whereas if I take that same amount of money, instead of those 10 posters, I can get 30 posters from Italy.
Yeah.
Let's go with the Italians and get that stuff. And for me, it's rarely been about what I specifically like. It's been about what I can get at a good price to make my knowledge and my collection as big and as good as it can be. And there are times when I go after something specific, but it doesn't happen that often. Often it's the very old and expensive stuff that, it's like, from time to time I just say, I got some money, I can't find anything else right now, and I know I can get that, and I'm going to get it. But I don't do that very often. You'd be surprised at the amounts that I pay for most of this stuff. It's not as much as some people might think. The highest price that I've ever paid for any poster is a lot lower than I know you've paid. Let's not get into that. The most I've ever paid for a poster is less than a tenth of what you paid for the most expensive one you've got.
Right. We don't know who's going to be watching this, do we?
Yeah. Anyway, I've rambled on and on and on. I'll send you a copy of this video somehow. I'll probably put it on YouTube and send you a link or something.
Yeah, that'd be smashing.
And you can just take whatever you think is useful from it.
Brilliant. That sounds great.
I guess that's been
great. I've learnt a lot there, and I've got to...
Do you have any other questions come to mind?
No.
I'm in a happy talky place right now.
I don't think there is anything else. I mean, you've approached the topic from angles that I didn't even consider. So, it's been very enlightening for me to listen to a kind of hobbyist, completist who's desperate to be educated and sees posters as part of a kind of a huge kind of patchwork of other things to create a bigger picture.
That's exactly what it is. And at the end of the day, I do it because I love it. And I like seeing the different versions. It's like, young master there, I got the French, I've got the Spanish, I don't have the Hong Kong, but I got pictures of it. I have one of the Thai versions, but I don't have the 2-sheet, sadly. I got the Belgian poster. It's interesting to see the different ways that they try and market things in other countries.
Yeah.
Something that Jackie Chan once said always stuck with me. He said, when I make movie Cannonball Run, I go to Hong Kong. Jackie Chan! Other name actors, very small. I go to America. Burt Reynolds! Very big. Jackie Chan. Very small. I find that interesting. There are different ways that people market the thing. Something that I've always hated in the last 20 years, especially, is like From the action choreographer of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's like, he's got a name. He's called Yuen Wu Ping.
Yeah.
Why don't you use his damn name? I hate how they try and sell a film on the back of the success of another film. It drives me crazy. But I do like a good tagline. Taglines are fun, but you don't really get those on these other films. But some things about Thai posters that are quite interesting, like Wheels on Meals. They changed the Thai name to whatever they called it. I can't remember what it was. They had a Wheels on Meals Part 2 in Thailand. Nice. Nothing to do with Part 1, but they used the name because it was successful. And that happens more than we know.
Yeah, I bet.
Do you know the film Iron Angels?
Yeah.
There's 3 of them. In Thailand, 8.
Right.
I can't tell you which is which, but they included Angel Cop, Avenging Quartet, Fatal Termination. I can't remember the other 2 right now. They were all Girls with Guns films. And because Angels was so successful, they just kept using the name on any Girls with Guns film until they got up to 8 of them. It's quite surprising.
I like is Fatal Termination the one where
the kid out the window.
Yeah, that's the one. Held by a
mental.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So something else that I want to see one day that I need help with because my Thai language still isn't good enough. I want to see original country names of every release translated into English. Like in France they released Fearless Hyena as La Hyène Intrépide. It's the same as Fearless Hyena.
Yeah.
But in another country it's got a different name. And to see how they try and market the films by changing it to the name of another film that was successful. That kind of stuff. There's like things that I find fascinating that no one else gives a crap about. This is one of them.
Yeah.
And it really is quite fascinating. Every country has certain conventions. I can speak for Thailand because I'm quite an expert on it. There was a film released in the 1940s which had the name, had the word tiger in the title. And the hero of the film was the tiger. And that film was amazingly successful. And then for the next 50 years, there's so many films that have tiger in the name. It's ridiculous. There's at least 200 films with tiger in the name somewhere. Either Sua or Payak. And Payak Rai is Cruel Tiger. And the Cruel Tiger is the bad guy. There's also Diamond, Pet, which was used as referring to the hero in a very popular film. And then there's many films with pet in the name, like Pet Tat Pet, Pet Tat Yacht. There's many, many, many. And it makes no sense when you see the names of these films. It's like there's a Thai film which has Choi Sil Kung in it, called Pet Tat Yacht, which means diamond cuts jade. Now Diamond is the Thai hero, Jade means the Chinese hero, and cut is like they fight with each other.
Okay.
And it's like the Chinese names have never translated well to English. I don't know if you've seen, but some of them are really strange. I can't think of any examples right now, but there have been things on websites in the past where you see a direct translation. Really? And now with Google Translate, if you can get the original Chinese, you stick it in Google Translate, it gives you the English translation. Some of them are quite weird.
Yeah.
It reminds me, there was a game that they played on the radio. I think it was GWR. Do you know GWR radio? They might have only been in Bristol, I'm not sure. But they had a game where they would take like a famous movie quote and they would translate it into another language using the internet. Then they would translate it back to English using the internet, and it would be different. And you had to try and guess from the quote what the original quote is, what film it was from. It was quite a weird game, but it was kind of good. But there's so many intricacies in language where things just don't translate.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating. So That's one thing that I've done with the Thai films. I put the transliteration and the translation for every film title, so that you know. And I want to do this with the other countries as well. And that's another job in itself. But the aim is to have it all one day.
Yeah.
I realise I'm running out of time, but
it's a very noble aim, and
I'm working on it, and it's getting there.
You'll have already achieved things that, you know. I mean, who else was going to do this type of stuff?
My hope is that I can crowdfund, if I have to, book one of the Thai stuff, which will give me what I need is time. If I have a normal job, I don't have the time to do this. I can only do it because I've been semi-retired since I left school. As I said, seriously, I've never had a full-time job. Well, I had a full-time job for 1 month, and the guy tried not to pay me, and I took him to court and sued him to get the money he owed me. But aside from that, I've always been part-time.
I'm not surprised that put you off.
Well, it wasn't because of that. It was my plan from the start. I've always just made enough money to live on, and hopefully get movie stuff when it's there.
Yeah.
And there have often been times where I've been like, oh, if only I had more money, I could have gotten that thing which someone else has got, and I missed it. And that has happened to me many times, unfortunately.
I experience that regularly on Facebook, on Thai seller sites. There's always somebody who appears moments before me and types in, what is this, rab crap or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking about you, of course.
But it's not always about the time, though. Sometimes it's just about the money. And I do regret sometimes that I don't work more and have more money, that I can get the more expensive stuff. Because my collection could be bigger if I had more money, obviously. But I do not regret that I have the time. And to have the time with the stuff that I do have, with the resources that I do have. I lost a lot of stuff on my computer. I actually got caught by one of those people who locks up your system and tries to make you pay a ransom.
Oh, right.
And I lost a lot of stuff a few years ago from that. They took a lot of good pictures that I'm really angry about. But I still have a lot of good stuff that, even though I don't have the films, I've got the names, and I've got the pictures of the posters, and I've got all of this information that I can put together. And it's just, I need the time to do it. If I had a normal job working 9 till 6, and then by the time you come home, you make something to eat, you have a shower. Like if you've got kids and pets and all of that, that takes time as well, and paying the bills. I don't have any of that.
No.
And
you've got that time.
I used to work 2 days a week until I lost my job because of COVID, and that was enough to keep me afloat because I had a okay-ish job. And it was having that time. So when I say the Japanese stuff took me a full year, all day, every day, you got to take weekends out of that. So technically it took me more like 250 days to put it all together. But it's still a lot of time when you add up all the hours.
Yeah.
And I would literally just wake up, go to the bathroom, turn on the computer, start working. Then I'd eat when I'm hungry. And then I keep going till I roll into bed and I get my 4 hours sleep. So maybe it wasn't quite 20 hours a day, but it was at least 18, 19 most days. And you need to have that flexibility. The biggest thing that we have in this life is time. And most people spend it making money for other people.
Yeah.
And I've chosen to try and take as much of my time as I can and do what I love. And it's a very difficult thing. I've been walking a tightrope because I always have money coming in from work, but I never have a large amount of money coming in. So I've always set myself a limit. I've said, this is how much money I had last month. This is how much was for bills. That's gone. This is how much I have left. And whatever's left, that goes into the film pot. And I buy whatever I can with that. Because I know that next month there's more money coming in which will cover my bills, and then I'll have a bit more left over.
Yeah.
As long as that's been going on, which it has been for the last 14 years pretty well. There have been a few times here and there where I've been jobless, and I did get down to almost no money at one point, which was quite worrying for a while. But I didn't have to sell anything that time. Now this time with all the COVID crap going on, I've actually, out of the last year and a half, I've worked maybe a half.
Okay.
So I've had a year where I've had to live on what little money I had saved up, which is not much, and I've actually had to sell some stuff. But luckily it's not been Asian film stuff. It's been American and Italian, what have you. Because I've got a lot of other stuff that they're films that I like to have. Like, I love the film Short Circuit. I have the US 1 sheet. I have a soft spot for Fly to the Navigator. I have the US 1 sheet. You know, I'm completely obsessed with the Asian stuff, but I do watch other stuff and I like other stuff too.
Yeah.
Like Sand Pebbles, for instance. And Puss in Boots. I do have other stuff. But that's all well documented and you can easily find out about that. But the Asian stuff is the secret, the puzzle, the pieces that need to be put together. And it's like people say to me, why'd you buy that? And I'm like, it'll never be on TV.
Yeah.
I cannot find it on the internet. I can't go to YouTube Prime and watch it. It's not on Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it does come out in other countries, but it's like, where can I watch this on the internet?
Exactly.
If I know enough Thai language to put that name in, I might find it. If I'm searching in English, Thai horror films, there's a chance that it might come up, but you just don't know.
A small chance.
This is called Gahang, by the way. There's a lot of stuff like this. Grasu, Kunsuk. You know, these might be on Thai TV occasionally, depending on what it is, but I don't know about it because there's no TV times, radio times for it anymore. TV used to be easy. You had 4 or 5 channels, you got the magazine, you can see everything that's going to be on in the week. You put an X next to what you want to see and you make sure you're there to see it.
Yeah.
I used to do that religiously. And I would record things when there was 2 things at the same time that I couldn't watch both. These days, you don't know what's on when, you just flick through the channels and you come across something halfway through.
Yeah.
And it's like, one of the reasons that I stopped watching TV was I'm bloody fed up of coming into halfway through an episode of something and then it's repeated again later in the week and you see the 5 minutes before where you came in yesterday and then you come back again and you catch a start of it this time and you get the other few minutes. It drives me up the wall.
Yeah.
And
it's very disparate.
I just do not watch TV. If I find something good that I like, I wait till the series is over and then I either buy it or I binge watch it on the internet. And I've done that with everything.
Yeah.
And I have many things on the computer hard disk. Like, this will mean nothing to anyone, maybe not even to you. Do you know who Drew Carey is?
Not particularly.
He's very famous in America. He did Whose Line Is It Anyway? He presented the American version. And he did The Price Is Right. He's a very famous comedian over there. And he did this thing called The Drew Carey Show, which was a sitcom. Never released on video. Never released on DVD. You can't get it anywhere. And I wanted to see it, because I hear that it's good and I quite like him. I found every episode on the internet. Someone taped it off of American TV. And they put it on the internet. Download! Which might technically be illegal, but damn it, I want to see it. And I'm glad I did. It's got some of the most imaginative stuff I've ever seen. Like, a turkey pole dancing. Specifically was one of the highlights of that. He was having a dream sequence. It was very strange. And that's on my hard disk. I can go back to that anytime, even if it never comes out on DVD and it just disappears in the ether like all of these old films have. And there's other stuff like that. Did you ever see... I think it's The Flash. There's an actor in that. I forget his name now. But he did a TV show called Ed. E-D. Ed. Have you ever heard of it? Most people haven't. It's about a lawyer who loses his job, goes back to his hometown and buys a bowling alley. It's one of the best things I ever saw. And I saw it on early morning English TV, like 2, 3 in the morning when they put on the Strange American stuff. And I was captivated by it. The way it was made, the acting in it, the characters were so good. And it's never come out on video, DVD, there's nothing. And I found most of it on the internet. I'm still missing like 3 or 4 episodes, I think. But most of it is really bad old VHS recordings from TV that people have put on because they like it and they want other people to be able to see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, even recent American TV shows disappear in this way that the movies have.
Yeah.
And like, you don't know it, but I'm telling you, it's awesome. But the only way you're going to get it is if I give you a copy, because it's gone, you can't get it anymore. And you know, I've never been a big person for bootlegging. I try not to buy bootlegs. My rationale has always been, it might come out sometime in the future, and meanwhile there's all of this other stuff I can go and buy. And one day, if there's nothing left to buy and only bootlegs remain, I'll go to them and see what I can get.
Yeah.
And with some of the TV shows like that, it might come out on DVD one day. I live in hope. If there is ever a DVD box set of Ed, I'm all in. I love it. I want it. It's brilliant. I can give you specific examples of why I love it, but they're totally irrelevant to this. But there's this woman in it who he's in love with, but he can't tell her. He was always in love with her since they were at school together, and he has a relationship with her. Then it's off. She goes off with another guy, and all this crap happens. And in the end, it comes down to she's going to marry someone else. And he has his last chance to go and tell her how he really feels. And he says to the person he's talking to, he's like, you know when you get really close up to someone else and you look in their eye, and you can see little things in their eye that you can't see normally because you're too far away? Yeah? I don't want to spend the rest of my life not being able to see that in Carol's eyes again. It's really daft, but it's so well acted, so well made. It's really good. And you know, there are a lot of films that are rare because they're crap. I freely admit. There are many films that you go after because it's rare and you really want to see it, and you watch it and you go, I can't believe I paid £30 for that piece of crap. Has it ever happened to you? I'm sure it has.
Well, I mean, like Big Boss 2's meant to be a bit rubbish, isn't it?
That I would pay to see. I actually have the tie poster and lobby set from that, believe it or not.
I quite like the kind of original poster. I think it's a really nice poster. I haven't got it.
It's good. I wish I had that one too. But the tie poster is quite good. It's nice artwork. And the tie lobby card's not so good. In Thailand they called it Pechakat Tong, which means like the golden hitman or the golden killer, something like that. I get confused in Thailand because they have Pechakat and Mubun. And one of them is supposed to be hitman, and one of them is supposed to be assassin.
Right.
But they're the same thing. So in English and in Thai there's 2 words, and I'm never sure the right way to translate. It gets confusing. But yeah, although many films that are rare are crap, there are things that aren't that are really good. Like Snake Deadly Act, I always come back to. I don't know about you, but I love that film. And if
it's just quality shapes.
If Eastern Heroes hadn't had the poster and the knowledge that film existed, and they hadn't gone down every rabbit hole chasing that film, and they hadn't been in the right place at the right time to say to Li Ching, have you got a copy? We'd still not be able to see it. So I come back to what I said, knowledge is power. You need to know that this stuff exists. That's part 1. Before you can find it, you have to know about it. A lot of things you'll stumble across by accident, and it's a happy accident, because damn, that was a good film. I'm glad I found out about it. But there are many things that if you don't do the research, you don't put in the time, you just don't know about.
Yeah.
And having been in Thailand for 14 years, I could still be sat here in the dark with a collection of like 500-600 recent Thai releases that are all mostly crap films, and I just wouldn't know about all the old good stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's taken a lot of time and a lot of effort, and being able to read the original language is a massive help. And I would say this to anyone: if you want to know about Indian films, learn the language for the Indian films you like. If you want to know about Thai films, learn Thai language. Chinese films, learn Chinese language. As best you can with whatever limited resources you have. Even though I can't read Chinese well, I can recognize many names, like Wang Jing, Lau Kar Fai. I know what their names look like because I've seen them enough times. And even though you won't learn well enough to understand an entire film, if I watch a Cantonese film, my Mandarin is not good because I watch mostly Hong Kong films. But if you watch something in Cantonese, my Cantonese is good enough that I might not understand a lot of it, but I can understand some of it. I know a bit about what's going on. And to be able to talk to people in their own language. If I go into... We don't have any rental shops in Thailand now. They've all closed. But when I first came here, we still had a lot of VCD, DVD rental shops. And I would go in, and if you try and say, "Hello mate, have you got any posters I can buy?" They're not going to understand you very well. Although the Thai word for poster is poster. So they might understand that. But if you go in and say, "Kun mi poster nangao pomsu dai mai crap?" You say, "Have you got any old movie posters I can buy from you?" Often you'll get a yes, because they want to make money.
Yeah.
And that's how I got a lot of the more recent stuff, like the after 2000 posters that I've got. I've got a lot of stuff from rental shops. And there is still the odd good one that's got nice artwork from time to time. Like, do you know the Chinese film Aftershock?
Yes.
About the earthquake? Well, I like the artwork on that, and the Thai poster is the same art. And I managed to get the Thai rental poster for that. It never came out in cinemas here. And that's a whole other thing. You don't just have the cinema posters, you got the rental posters. And often films didn't come out in cinemas after the video boom. So that's a whole other thing to look into. Sometimes you have the cinema poster and the rental poster, which are completely different. Which is another thing to look into. And there's just so many ways this goes. I do still see things from time to time that I've never seen before. Even though I've been in Thailand for 14 years, from time to time I'll see something new. Like these lobby cards I got last week. I'm like, wow, what's that? The good thing is those are really cheap because the guy who's selling them doesn't know what it is either. If it's like a popular film, the price goes up. If it's something rare that people know is supposed to be good, the price goes up. If it's something that no one's got a bloody clue about it because they've never been able to see it, because since the cinema release it's just been totally lost and nothing's written about it, these come up cheap. It's surprising sometimes. The moment I saw them, I was like, I've never seen that before. I didn't even need to read the name. I just saw the pictures and I knew that's something different that I don't know. And I had that moment that you get that flutter in your heart where you go, "Ooh, I found something!" And it's always exciting.
The thrill, isn't it? Yeah.
It doesn't happen anywhere near as often. When you start out, everything is new.
Everything's exciting.
Everything is exciting. And, you know, like, if we go back to Toby a few years ago, he sold off a load of stuff. And I had no money, I couldn't buy any of it, I was really upset. But I asked him, "Why are you selling everything?" He went, "Oh, it's just stuff, innit?" He's become so jaded because he's got everything. For Toby, there's like 50 films left to see that he wants that he just can't get. And that's it. He's seen all the Hong Kong, he's seen all the Taiwan, he's seen all the old Korean stuff. He had it, he sold it, he's seen it, he can remember. He's not that bothered anymore about most of it. He did keep a lot of stuff, but he sold off loads. He sold off hundreds and hundreds of Taiwan videotapes. And I was like, oh, I wish I had money. It drove me crazy.
Through your fingers. I'm going to have to stop there now, James, if that's alright.
I'm sorry, I have a way going on when you get me enthused about something.
It's been great. It really has.
Been nice talking to you too. To find a kindred mind is not easy on this subject.
It's been a real privilege, so thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you to you too. And I hope it comes out well. I'll send you a copy soon.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Right. I'll catch you later.
Bye for now.
Bye now, bye.
Bye bye.